Welcome back to Aussie Beekeeping. So today we're going to be turning these wax cappings into usable wax for $25. Stay tuned. If you're anything like me, you've probably got a fair bit of wax, leftover cappings and scrapings floating around. We also processed some honey manually recently, so we've got a fair bit of wax from that left over. Now, I've destroyed my fair share of barbecues, pots and pans, and a lot of messy kitchen cleanups in the last couple of years. So I was on Marketplace and I came across 2 Bain Maries for $50. And I jumped on board. So I also went and purchased a couple of trays. The bottom one's 150 millimeters deep and the top one's a steamer. Normally you'd have this full of water, even with a curry in it or some veggies on top. So let's fill this full of water and see how we go. I'm not quite sure of the exact water level required, so a couple of tests to see how much coverage we get on that pan. So it looks like that's probably about the right amount of water. If I push this down and lift it back up, I can see that the water level's about 3/4 of the way up this stainless pan. So let's get this wax in and get it processed. I'm going to put this on 110 degrees to start off with. Now this says 120, but in actual fact, a little bit later I find out that this one leaks a little bit. So there goes $25 and I swap it out for the other. So I'll pop a bit of water in this just to get the wax process started. Give it something to conduct the heat with. And I've also found a couple of old bits of wax in the backyard. Now I'm not sure exactly why they were in the backyard, but I've got a good idea. So I'll get these cappings in as well. They've got a fair bit of honey, and as we'll see at the end of the video, there's a lot of honey in this. It's been sitting, it's relatively cold in our house. It's still winter, so normally in the summertime you'd get a higher percentage of wax out of this. Should I say honey out of this, but we'll get it out in the end. You can see there just how sticky it is towards the bottom. So it probably looks like I'm grossly overloading this, but once the heat gets into it, the wax level will drop right down. So let's turn this heat on. I'm going to put it on 110 degrees to start off with, and then a bit later I'll probably put it back down to 60 degrees Celsius, but it'll really be just a suck and see exercise. Let's get this bad boy going. I had to come back a couple of times and give it a bit of a stir. I also found a little bit of extra wax floating around in my workshop that I threw in as well. I put the lid on because it seemed like the bottom of the wax was heating up, but the top would solidify after time. And what do you know it, the lid really did the trick. So this is about 2.5 hours later. So it looks like we're almost done here. There's a few little blobs floating around of wax that hasn't melted, but after a quick stir, these melt pretty quickly. So the plan is now to get this wax out of here, put it into some containers. I'm also going to filter it as I do that. But so far, this has been a pretty big success. So I've got a couple of old containers. One's an old slow cooker container, the other one's just an ice cream container. These are expendable, so I'll pop a filter in here. This filter's just been floating around for the last year or so for little odd wax jobs. So let's get this in here and see how we go. It doesn't take long before that's pretty much all full. Now this filter's a little bit blocked. It's got a bit of crud in there from other jobs, so it needs a little bit of a squeeze every now and then. So that's one done. So it looks like the wax is pretty clear. Time will tell. There's still a bit of crud left in the bottom, plenty of slum gum. So I'll see how much I get out into this ice cream container. Try to avoid getting all the slum, and then I just decide, you know what, the filter will get that out. So I'm going to now fill it with water up to a pretty high level. I also got that steamer tray that I talked about a bit earlier, so I'm going to pop the steamer tray in. That will hold all the solids down, and I'm going to let this thing bubble away for a few more hours, trying to get the most amount of wax out of that slum gum underneath. Now this is about 45 minutes after, and you can see the wax is coming up, but there's still a fair bit of water in the top of there, so I'm going to let it go for another couple of hours and revisit it. And here we are. This is 4 hours after I started, and you can see the colour on the top. There's a fair bit of wax. So let's get this out and see how we go. I do my best to just skim the wax off the top, but I know I'm going to get a fair bit of water in here. I'm not too concerned. So the plan with this wax is that I'm going to buy myself a wax mould for foundation and use this wax for my own foundation. Now you can see here there's only about 1/4 of an inch of wax in the top of that container. So I'll turn this thing off and I'll come and revisit it tomorrow morning when it's cool. And here we are tomorrow morning. You can see there's only a small amount of wax that's solidified in the top of that. And I'm really, really happy. So for $25, this has just been the best experience for me. The wax is just really clear. The ice cream container's got a massive amount of honey, but this honey's been well and truly heat treated. I would like to reuse this honey in some way, but I think for this exercise, I think this will just go in the bin. If you want to try this out, get online, find yourself a bargain. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.